today as it gets stormy across many states.
And temperatures swing. See where a blast of cool air is about to send highs plummeting from the 90s into the 60s.
From the Weather Channel headquarters in Atlanta, you're watching Weather Center Live. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 4 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Central, 1 o'clock on the West Coast. Thanks for joining us. I'm Crystal Lager.
And I'm Chris One. Right now, we're watching increasing rain in the Northeast with some airport delays already and the remnants of Isaac dumping heavy rain on parts of the Southeast.
Let's start out with what we're watching. We'll take a little tour here. We'll start out in the Northeast. Heavy rain in Philly. That's headed for New York City. Within the hour, we will see the showers coming down across Manhattan and into Long Island. Plenty of rain right now across Jersey, and the showers advancing with that next system around the eastern lakes.
And you might hear the lightning ahead of that. You might hear the thunder ahead of the rain there in New York City. In the Southeast, we're seeing some of that heavy rain. You see south of Montgomery heading into Pensacola, some very heavy rain. That brought some flash flooding last night and today. Here's what it looks like in Selma, Alabama, following heavy rain. This is in Concordia College, and you can see quite a bit of rain there. Some of that flash flooding. An estimated 5 to 8 inches of rain has fallen in the Selma area this morning, and this is by Selma High School, at least in that area. As much as 3 feet of water was reported in the downtown area, with water flowing over streets and into businesses. And you know what? Throughout parts of the Southeast, it is still raining right now. To the very latest with Crystal.
And it's amazing, some of the circulation in the upper levels of the atmosphere associated with Isaac, believe it or not, is causing this heavy rain across southern Alabama and into the panhandle of Florida. Now, this area is already saturated from Isaac, and now we've got some pretty heavy rain moving through. You saw some of that flooding in Selma, Alabama. Most of the rain now around Monroeville and areas to the south. Crestview, also Pensacola. You've had some heavy rain over the last week and more moving in. This indicates how much rain we've had over the last 6 hours, and it has added up to several inches in a lot of these areas where you see yellow on the map. We've had 3 to 4 inches of rain in some isolated areas around places like Selma, a little bit more than that, and that's going to cause flooding quickly because the ground just can't take all that much. Here in the Southeast, there are isolated storms here and there, nothing severe right now. Keeping an eye on South Carolina and around Charlotte for the DNC as we've been in and out of some lightning with the thunderstorms pushing through. Keeping an eye on Philadelphia. The rain has moved out, at least the heaviest rain. We still have a flash flood warning in Philly, and now the showers are moving closer to New York City. Within the next 30 minutes now, we'll see the heavy rain move in. There is some lightning here. Flash flood warnings also out from the Toms River up to Asbury Park. Chris?
Now here's the latest on the Isaac aftermath. As of this afternoon, about 35,000 people in Louisiana alone are still without power. Also, severe weather will be part of the legacy of Isaac. Preliminary numbers from our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, show the hurricane produced at least 42 tornadoes. That put Isaac in a tie for the 11th most active tornado-producing tropical system. And in Washington, D.C., the mayor assigned a task force to figure out why the city's Bloomingdale neighborhood always floods during bad storms. Flooding from Isaac's remnants led to water rescues on Sunday night. Public schools throughout Louisiana reopened today for the first time since being shut down last week by Isaac. The State Department of Education says schools across the state will welcome any student forced to relocate because of the storm. The students will be allowed to attend school for as long as evacuations remain in place. Kids can later transfer back to their original school in their hometown. Damage from Isaac in Louisiana could top $2 billion. On Monday, President Obama made a visit to the region. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez reports.
7 years after Katrina, President Obama couldn't resist bringing it up.
I want to particularly thank FEMA and the state and local authorities, because sometimes in the past we haven't seen the kind of coordination that is necessary in response to these kinds of disasters. This time we've seen it.
On the ground for almost 3 hours in Louisiana, he had this pledge for the small towns Isaac hit hard.
At the federal level, we are getting on the case very quickly about figuring out what exactly happened here, what can we do to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Watch the mailbox.
This is what happened last Wednesday morning in LaPlace. The height of the storm captured on home video.
I just couldn't believe it was happening because we're friends with all these people, and it just breaks your heart.
Cheryl Broussard and her husband are cleaning up. Other neighborhoods still withstanding water are in even worse shape.
We have no levee, had nowhere to go but this way.
3 days after Republican presidential hopeful Mitt Romney toured the region, some residents had this message for President Obama.
I would ask him to make sure that the people in the neighborhood who live here are protected from those flood waters, not just the big cities.
Coming up on Weather Center Live, we'll explore severe weather and politics in the post-Katrina world. A natural disaster could become a political disaster if public leaders fail to show compassion for victims. We're going to have an in-depth look coming up.
Well, about a week now after Hurricane Isaac, thousands are still in the dark, and they're dealing with heat and humidity. That lack of air conditioning is turning this now into a deadly situation. Coming up next, we'll have an update on the outages and your forecast, of course. Plus, Isaac's remnants dumped heavy rain on some of the drought areas, but was it enough? The impacts for America's corn farmers. Next.